Good morning, everyone. We're about to start the meeting. Good morning. The time is 9 o'clock, and I call to order the September 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Contractors State License Board. I am Susan Granzella, CSLB's board chair. Board members, this is our first in-person meeting in some time, so I would like to go over some of the ground rules before we proceed. In accordance with the Sacramento County Public Health Order, any person inside this building must wear a face mask that covers both your mouth and nose. There is hand sanitizer and extra masks at the back of this room and at a table in the lobby. There is water and coffee for our morning break, and we will break for a 30-minute lunch at noon. Please also note that members of the public can join us by phone today or watch our webcast. We will be using microphones today. Only 3 microphones can be live at any one time. If the green light is on, then those on the phone and watching on YouTube can hear you. I ask that you turn your microphone off when not speaking to assure a live microphone is available for others. We have reduced the number of staff that are typically at a board meeting to provide for social distancing. Our IT chief, Jason Perez, will be serving as our moderator today, and we have an executive office analyst, Heather Young, calling roll today. Additional staff joining us will be Chief Deputy Registrar Tanya Corcoran, CSLB senior staff, and our board legal counsel, Jason Hurtado. Heather, please call the roll.
Susan Granzella.
Here.
Kevin Albanese.
Here.
Frank Altamara.
Here.
Rodney Kubus.
Here.
David Delatorre has an excused absence. Miguel Galarza.
Here.
Donald Garatano.
Here.
Diana Love. Here. Michael Mark.
Here.
James Ruane.
Here.
Johnny Simpson.
Here.
Nancy Springer.
Here.
And Mary Tykert. We
All
have
right.
a quorum.
Thank you, Heather. Well, with that, I was to ask Vice Chair Mary Tykert to lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance, but instead I will ask Diana Love, our secretary on the board, to lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance. Moving to agenda item B, which is for public comment, and to request agenda items for future meetings. The board values public input as part of our consumer protection mission. To allow us enough time to conduct our full schedule of business today, I'm limiting public comments to 3 minutes apiece, and that's 3 minutes. If your comments don't involve an item on today's agenda, this would be time where you can make them. If you have comments on one of our agenda items, we encourage you to wait until we get to that item. We will give you an opportunity to make your comments at that time. We also ask that your board comment relate to the agenda item currently before the board. There are a few other rules that apply. First, California law prohibits board members from discussing any matter brought up during public comment, and board members are not allowed to act on any item not on today's agenda. Second, if you want the board to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you can ask us to consider placing it on that issue on the agenda for a future meeting. Finally, if you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charges pending before the board, we ask that you not discuss the details of your case or pending complaint. That's because board members may be the judges and by law are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in the case. Members of the public, if you are with us on the phone and you would like to make a comment, please press press *3. This will tell the moderator you have raised your hand. We will use this same system throughout the meeting for public comment during each agenda item. You will find instructions on how to make public comments on the agenda for this meeting posted on our CSLB website. Board members, do you have an agenda item that you would like placed on a future meeting agenda? All right. Jason, please check if there are any members of the public who wish to address the board or offer a possible agenda item for a future meeting that are online.
We do have one public comment. Call-in user, I am unmuting your line. Please go ahead and speak.
My name is Jason Paulson. I can speak now?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Jason Paulson. I own Walnut Creek Roofing. I have a roofing contractor, sheet metal, as well as a general contractor. I bought the company 15 years ago, and I had many employees, and I paid workers' comp on all of them. About 5 years ago, I decided to go solo, and now I only do roof inspections and small repairs. I have no employees. I do roof inspections, and I do the repairs, and I do the office work all by myself. I'm required to pay state funds about $5,200 every year for the privilege to have an active roofing classification. This policy does not cover me, as I am the owner. I am exempt. I have thought about dropping the C39 and working as a general contractor, as that would save me a lot of money, but I want to stay as a roofer. I see that you're trying to pass AB 216 that would require other contractors to have a workers' comp policy, even without employees. I watched a video from March 25th, 2021, where Kevin Albanese said that we are cheating and it is a net zero cost. Well, let me tell you, Kevin, every year that I pay the $5,200 is not a net zero cost. It comes right off the bottom line. I would love to pay myself an extra $5,200 a year. I understand that many contractors lie and cheat, but I'm not one of them. It is unfair to me, as well as many contractors who do work alone and do small projects that the bigger contractors do not want to do. I get a lot of referrals from the bigger contractors because they don't want to have to deal with the small projects or the roof inspections. And in hand, I refer those guys back for the bigger projects. My second concern is AB 899. As I stated, I do roof inspections and small repairs. And most of the repairs I do the same day, as I carry a lot of material in my truck, be able to fix the roof in one trip. I work a lot with that service repair contract. At times, the $750 limit is not high enough. I see that AB 899 would allow the unlicensed contractor to work for more than I do with the service repair contract. I also do see that you guys are trying to pass the SB 304 that would increase the service repair contract to $1,500. I believe due to the time it takes to get these bills passed, it should be raised to $2,000. It is unfair that an unlicensed contractor can work for almost the same amount of money as I do, that I'm licensed, who is paying for all the insurances and legal fees. Again, the license board should crack down more on people who are working illegally than charging me money when I'm doing everything right. Again, I work by myself. I have no employees. I do all the office work. I do all the inspection repairs, and I have to pay the $1,500 a year. That does not benefit me or my company in any way other than keep my license active. It's basically robbery.
10
Thank
seconds.
you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to ask for comment for future agenda items only from the public in the room. Public comment?
We have a public comment
Oh, there's another one?
here, in person.
Yes, that's what I meant. We're still working this in person. And then your glasses fog up all the time, so I'm sure that happens to everyone. But thank you very much, and this would be an agenda item for our next meeting, correct?
No, this would be just public comment, just public comment.
Okay, your public comment, thank you.
Public comment on something not on today's agenda? Okay. My name is Bernadette Del Chiaro. I'm the Executive Director of the California Solar and Storage Association. As you will hear from a few of my members here today, the board's July 27th decision and subsequent bulletins, FAQ, and webinar have caused significant harm as well as disruption to the California solar and storage industry, as well as widespread confusion. The impacts of these actions will be felt most extremely by our small businesses, who make up the vast majority of the industry in our membership. 3 of these individuals are here today to share with you what your decision from July 27th means to their businesses, but they represent hundreds of others throughout the state. All of this is happening to our industry during a global pandemic and as the state continues to confront a growing crisis in climate change in which the state is desperate to build more solar energy and energy storage. If you were trying to knock the renewable energy agenda of the state of California off track, you couldn't have done a better job than what the July 27th decision did to our industry. This dynamic is exactly why the APA was created, to ensure that when government takes action to restrict and regulate business, it does so based on fact, with impact to small businesses under consideration, and with clear and consistent rules for businesses to follow. This is not the situation we have today. We ask that the board agree to an immediate stay on enforcement of your July 27th decision and subsequent bulletins until conclusion of CalSA's lawsuit, either through settlement or through decision of court. There is a middle ground here, but it needs to be arrived at through rulemaking as dictated by law, and it needs to begin with an immediate stay on the enforcement of your decision so that November 1st, our industry is not significantly disrupted and harmed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. My name is Janine Cotter, and pregnant with my 3rd child, I walked into the California Department of Corporations office in San Francisco and incorporated Luminalt Energy Corporation. I am a co-founder. I'm the C46 license qualifier for this majority woman-owned solar and battery energy storage specialty contractor. All we do is storage and battery energy, solar and solar paired battery energy storage systems. We have thousands of solar systems that have been done under our C46 license. We have hundreds of solar paired battery energy storage systems that have been done under our license. We have a 10-year warranty obligation under the state of California licensing requirements and incentive programs. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. We have over 230 contracts in our backlog and over 400 Tesla Powerwalls. And effective November 1st, 2021, we can't do the work anymore. We have obligations to consumers, we have obligations to our employees, and we're stuck. In 2008, San Francisco started a workforce development program for solar installers, and Luminalt was the first company to become workforce development certified. We have had a mission of really diversifying and in being very inclusive in our workforce and training people. We have a majority BIPOC and women workforce. And of that workforce, only one of them is a certified electrician, and one of them is an ET. My daughter works for me. As many construction companies, they're used to my child can no longer work under my license. I was working on succession planning. I have nothing from which to succeed. And so the value of the business that I have run for nearly 2 decades has been decimated, and I don't know what to do. What I can tell you is that when we've gone to the DIR to ask to have my employees that collectively have nearly 200 years of solar and solar paired
10
battery
seconds.
storage experience, their work under my C46 does not qualify. Please, when you make an error or do something that damages another human being and their business and their careers, please work to repair that. I ask you to please calendar another meeting before November 1st and rescind your decision and stop the harm and allow my employees to continue to do the work that they have successfully done for nearly 2 decades. Thank you.
Thank you.
Still on? Yeah. Hello. My name's Gary Gerber. I'm President and CEO of Sunlight and Power, license 326203. That's a 1976 license. I've been designing and installing solar systems for 45 years. Employ 80 people in our offices in Berkeley. I'm here today to comment on the recent decertification of the C46, which is one of my licenses, and the license I primarily use to install PV and batteries. Many of the basic assumptions used by the board to justify its decision to decertify the C46 are false, and I respectfully urge the board to reconsider the decision based on false information. First off, the claims made by the anti-C46 faction are false, and in the sense that they try to state that the factory-sealed, UL-listed, self-contained residential batteries are somehow inherently dangerous. And it's just not true. If you've ever looked at one of these batteries, you can see it easily. They're all there. There's nothing that an installer can do other than, hit it with an axe to actually harm that battery or make that battery unsafe or any less safe than it was when it came off the factory floor. I'd also challenge the board to find a single incidence of a residential battery fire among the current millions of lithium-ion batteries now installed. In addition, the C46 faction, anti-C46 faction wants you to believe that somehow a non-certified electrician will somehow figure out a way to land 2 10-gauge wires on the UL-listed junction box that would somehow cause that battery to blow up. And for all those of you that saw the presentation, they showed electrical panels blowing up. That's not happening. That's never happened in a residential situation. And it could not be documented. It was admitted by the Berkeley consulting group that they couldn't document a single incident. Claims have been made there are tens of thousands of certified electricians ready and willing to jump in and replace the tens and thousands of non-certified solar electricians who will lose their jobs, as was pointed out by Janine, based on this ruling. The fatal flaw in this logic is most certified electricians are not the least bit interested in working in the residential
30
market.
seconds.
And most certified electricians are already working full-time. They're not available in the workforce. We tried to hire them. We can't get them. We can't find them. They're not out there. They also have no battery experience anyway. We don't necessarily even want to hire them, except that they're certified. But my people, who I've been training and I've been doing batteries for over 20 years, they know how to deal with batteries. And if they don't, we don't put them on the job. That's what responsible contractors do, is you train your people
5
and put them
seconds.
on the job. And that's what needs to happen. They need to get their training from the manufacturers of the batteries. That's where we get our training, not from the IBEW. They don't know anything about batteries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is MeganStimler. I'm the sales manager for my family's solar company, Solar Hut. We are a C46 contractor. My father started Solar Hut in 2012. I joined as an environmental science major from Sac State. Our solar foreman, Ben, joined us that same year from a electrical contractor. My father has over 20 years of solar and battery experience. We have 2 NAPCEP certified installers, which is the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners, on staff. It is the highest recognized certification for installers in the nation. SolarHead is an elite SunPower dealership. Again, the highest certification of qualified installation inspections. SolarHead has been published multiple times as a top 500 solar installer in the nation by Solar Power World. At SolarHead, we pride ourselves in doing one thing and one thing right, and that is PV solar and best installations. SolarHead installed its first battery in 2012 as a Magnum battery technology for a gentleman with medically dependent children in the Sierra Nevadas in El Dorado County. We became an LG certified chem installer in 2018. To become certified as an installer, it required us to document 80 hours of training per each installing technician and 20 hours per each installing sales professional. We installed LG Chem's only American continent, that's including South, Central, Northern, 3 inverter, 3 battery installation of its kind in 2020. In the past 90 days, we have well over 200 hours of battery installation experience. You, the CSLB, has disabled my company from moving forward in this advancing energy field. All options you have left for C46 are complete dead ends. You have eliminated our ability for quality leads and customers. That is the number one thing they ask about, not the number one thing they purchase, but they ask. You killed our quality trained solar companies, all of our small businesses. The options of subbing out to a C10, C10s do not want to learn about batteries. And then if they do, we would have to train them. C10s are too busy with new homes and generator installations. The earliest time frame we've been quote to learn about battery technology is 18 months. Guidelines also
30
state
seconds.
that C46s are unable to subcontract out this work, but a general A and B can do so. Let's get a C10 license. Neither of our NAPCEP certified electricians would qualify to become electrical apprentice. I'm here today greatly shocked, disappointed that you tell me my company, us C46 installers, that we've installed 78% of all battery installations, that we are unqualified and unable to install solars with battery. There's been 0 incidents in California in the 40 years of C46 history, and I implore you to retract and vote, and let us C46 contractors do what we do best, and that is solar with battery storage. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Well, good morning. I'm Dave Foate. I'm the Registrar for the Contractors Board. And I just want to apologize for the script. We repurposed a script when we were doing virtual meetings only. Which all that, be aware that we're really glad that you're with us today. So that was on me and not including the public comment. So thank you.
Yes, I'd like to add my thanks to that.
Hi, good morning, board members. Jason Hurtado, Board Counsel. So in light of the public comments we just heard, it is correct that the board was served with a lawsuit this past Friday on September 17th. Based on that lawsuit, my recommendation to the board is for it to consider holding a special meeting within the next week or so. We could discuss the allegations in closed session, lay out the options for the board to make an informed decision. It would only require also 48 hours notice, so it wouldn't require the usual 10-day notice for the board.
Thank you, counsel.
As a board member, I would second council's recommendation and ask that meeting be set.
Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item C, in which I just pulled this out so I would know what to say. Oh, here it is. Thank you. Next is Agenda Item C, presentation of certificates of recognition. Today, we are recognizing Board Member Augie Beltran and two subject matter experts, Leonard H. Nielsen and Jeff Schulte. Schulte? Schulte.
Jeff Schulte.
Jeff Schulte, thank you. Thank you. Augie Beltran, let me start by thanking Augie for his outstanding 7 years of service to the board, to California consumers and the construction industry. Augie was appointed by the Senate Rules Committee in January of 2014 as a public member of the board and was reappointed in May of 2017 and again in June of 2021. Augie began his construction career as a carpenter apprentice in 1989. Augie spent many years in various facets of construction industry and has served on several government boards since 1987. He has brought his wealth of expertise to every committee on this board, including repeatedly serving as the Legislative Committee Chair, Vice Chair, and Board Chair in 2016-17. Augie recently retired from his longtime role as President and Director of Public and Governmental Relations on the Northern California Carpenters Regional Council. That's a long one. Augie has always been a passionate advocate for consumer protection, workers' rights, and contractor compliance with public works contracting requirements. I will now read the plaque from the board, but I think we have Augie come up for a photo op. Mr. Beltran? Oh, I can't see. Hello, sir. Thank you. So, Contractors State License Board presented to Augustin Augie Beltran, CSLB Board Member 2014 through 2021 and CSL Board Chair 2016 through 2017. In recognition of your outstanding contributions to the Contractors State License Board, the people of California, and to the industry of construction industry. Thank you, Augie, for all your service.
You're welcome. I appreciate it.
Okay. Oh, you did it. Now the good part. Are there any board members who would like to make a comment about Mr. Beltran's recognition today?
I'd just like to say, Augie, thank you so much for your time here. We've been able to partner a lot, not just here, but also in industry, and our common goals really saw us through on a whole lot of stuff. And just, I wish you absolute nothing but the best in your retirement and whatever else life may bring you, but Godspeed, Augie.
When you look up the definition of a mentor, we use that so freely. I don't know if anybody's ever gone back to actually read what it says. So just as a reminder, mentor shares information about their own career path as well as provide guidance, motivation, emotional support, and role modeling. And that's what you have done for me, as well as with many here, as you've heard them speak in the past and today. And that is that when I came onto this board, I felt it was a little intimidating at first. You read the stuff, you come prepared, but having the guidance of others that are on the board to support you and guide you through that, it just makes us better board members. And you are always there. And I just can't say enough. It just, even when we're in the board meetings, we have been available for resources beyond the meetings, available through the emails and phone calls and through the different resources that we use with the underground economy, and then different meetings that we had, and you've given resources through my industry and your industry to make connections that help support everybody, as well as benefit the consumers in the end. You've just been an outstanding board member. I know you always think about the board members ourselves, the consumers, as well as the staff. And you always make a point to remember that, and then you share with us in these committees that we've all served on. And the one thing I always remembered about legislation is get through it, know it, and get to the point, and we can move on and we can make great decisions and still make it in a timely manner. Thank you for everything you've given, and we'll stay in touch. I wish you the best.
Augie, it's Johnny. I just wanted to say thank you. Echo a lot of what Nancy just said. When I first came on the board, it was really nice to have someone that I could look to help me with some of the rules and all of the things. So thank you for your mentorship, and thank you for everything you did within the Carpenters Union. I mean, right, bringing in as many folks as you have and giving them a career and a life and everything you've done. Wow, it's been an honor and a pleasure to work with you.
Augie, Diana Love. I just want to say thank you for your time and your leadership that you have provided to CSLB. And I wish you a happy retirement and hope to see you again soon.
Mary Teichert, just wanted to say thank you, Augie. I wish our service had overlapped longer because I certainly appreciate your thoughtful and articulate and involved engagement with this board and the stuff we are doing. So it's been a privilege to get to know you a bit, and I'm hoping that you won't be a stranger in retirement.
Augie, Michael Mark here. I want to echo all the board member statements. You are a leader in the industry. I do want to state a lot of the hard work that you've done to help change the culture in construction in terms of more women in the trades, diversity. A lot of that work is reflected even within our the CSLB level. So appreciate all your hard work and congratulations on your retirement.
Well, I'll add my 2 cents. I joined the board shortly after you, and I had absolutely no experience, but I was learning quickly. And following your advice at board meetings, you taught us really how to cut to the chase. And as Nancy said, get to the point, and which is my favorite tactic. So, we often don't understand how people actually get things done. And you were definitely a role model for that. And I just cherish a lot of the situations that could have gone, weren't as easy as others. And, we resolved them. And a lot of it had to do with your leadership. So thank you very much. And also, it was fun in the Christmas barbecue, because there you were with the contractors out barbecuing and providing the, just adding to the spirit, and that we're helping. It was well received and it was wonderful. So thank you very much for your service to California and us.
Thank you all for the kind words. I have to say this is one of the, if not the best board that I've ever served on. Kevin, thank you for being my partner in crime. And Nancy, thank you for listening. Susan, it's been a pleasure working with you. And David, you are the best registrar this organization has ever had. I thought that when we were looking to replace Steve Sands. I still believe it. You put together an amazing team, and I appreciate everything they do. And Chief, thank you for working with me in Sacramento. You've done an awesome frickin' job. Thanks. Take care.
Pardon? Oh, another comment?
Does anybody mind if I say a couple words about Augie?
Well, I'm so sorry. I can't see a thing. So the glasses fogged up. Thank you, Chief Jay.
Went first. I just wanted to say a couple of words too, if that's okay. Yeah, I just want to echo something that Nancy said, that Augie has been a true mentor for me and others, and I know we'll hear from Mike in just a moment about all that Augie's done to help him learn his role as a legislative chief. But it even goes farther than that. I've been so fortunate to have Augie on my quick dial for the last 4 years. Always responsive, always gives sound advice. And I just want to thank you, Augie, for opening doors with other industry leaders, for the leadership that you've shown here and the patience that you've shown for all of us. So I hope you stay in touch and we can still communicate and we can still bug you once in a while for your sound advice. Thank you, Augie.
Good morning, Mike Jenetsky, CSLB legislative staff. I just want to thank Augie as well as chair of the Ledge Committee the last few years. Augie, I've been grateful for your guidance and pearls of wisdom in helping the legislative division achieve its goals. When I got this job in the end of 2017, I had lots of CSLB background and some law background, but no California legislative background. And I can read all the rules of the House rules, the Senate rules, and joint rules, and still not have the full picture about who to talk to, when to talk to them, and what to say. And you filled in those gaps. You did exactly what Board Member Springer said. So thank you for your pearls and your guidance. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Augie. So our next item is honoring Jeff Schulte and Leonard Nielsen. I'd like to preface this with CSLB is statutorily authorized to hire industry experts to inspect consumer complaint items to determine if the work was completed per contract and performed to trade standards. On average, CSLB pays $500 for inspection and the preparation of an expert's report, less than what an industry expert can command in the civil court arena. Fortunately, there are licensed contractors that are committed to the professionalism of the construction industry and to assisting CSLB staff investigate workmanship complaints. It is now my honor to recognize two of CSLB's finest industry experts, Jeff Schulte and Leonard Nielsen. I will begin by thanking Jeff Schulte for his 23 years of work in CSLB's industry expert program. Mr. Schulte began servicing swimming pools and spas in 1972 while in high school, working after class and on weekends. Servicing swimming pools and adding repairs enabled him to obtain a bachelor's degree in geology and qualify for a C-53 swimming pool license in 1989. He subsequently added the C-27 landscaping and B general building classification. Mr. Schulte began working as a CSLB industry expert in 1989 and continues performing inspections today, working with 6 CSLB offices in Southern California. He is watching today's proceeding and asked me to convey his gratitude to the board and CSLB staff for the opportunity to serve in his profession. On behalf of the board and CSLB enforcement team, thank you for your accessibility and commitment to consumer protection and the professionalism of the construction industry. Thank you, Mr. Thank you. Next, it is my privilege to recognize Leonard Nielsen. On May 11th, 1976, Mr. Nielsen became a licensed general building contractor B. At the age of 22, he was license number 319, for anybody who knows how those license numbers go, 319269. He soon added the C10 electrical classification and was licensed for over 45 years. Mr. Nielsen helped establish the Habitat for Humanity East Bay Silicon Valley license, 706051, serving as an officer from its issuance on May 5th, 1995 through August 8th, 1997. In 1995, he was one of the first admitted to the industry expert program and conducted his first inspection the first year the program was created. Mr. Nielsen explained that initially he was intrigued by the program and the possibility to earn supplemental income, and that's what caused him to take part. He soon became sold on the fact that it was good for the industry. He stated his work as an expert was on an altruistic level and that he learned a lot himself in doing so. Mr. Nielsen has completed over more than 669 inspections and hearings since we've automated our records since 2012, meaning it's quite possible that he's completed over 1,000 in his 26 years of service as an industry expert. Regrettably, Mr. Nielsen passed away last month. We appreciate the opportunity to express our appreciation to Mr. Nielsen's family that are watching today for his dedication and his service to the California consumer, the building industry, and to CSLB. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor Leonard Nielsen. Thank you, everyone. Are there any board members who would like to comment at this time? Is there any public comment on these items?
We do not have any public comments.
Thank you. All right. Next, we move on to agenda item D. Members, as an FYI, we have quite a few agenda items today, and we expect strategic planning will take about 4 hours. Did you really make me say that? And so I have asked staff to forego their standard presentations today. With that, I will turn the meeting over to our new Legislative Committee Chair, Jim Ruane, and I'd like to say thank you to Jim. When I read the email that Augie was resigning, it was twofold. I mean, first, I would miss him, and second, he just did such a fantastic job working with Chief J or Mike, Mr. Jenetsky, to really provide a handle for us on the legislative matters. And the first thought that came to mind was Jim Ruane, and I picked up the phone and he said yes. So I'm turning this over to Jim Ruane. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I am Board Member Jim Ruane and pleased to step into the role of the Chair of Legislative Division in light of Augie Beltran's retirement. We're going to miss you, Augie, and they're big shoes to fill, believe me. We'll begin with the first item under Legislative Division portion of the agenda, which is an update on 2021 legislation. The content for this section begins on page 9 of your board packets, and if you'd like to follow along. There are 6 bills on the agenda. As the legislature has recessed until January 3rd, these bills are here for the board's information and update only. As these are not presented as voting items, I do not plan to call for public comment or board member comment. Of course, this does not preclude any board member from making a comment if they would like to. The first bill is summarized on page 11 of your packets. It's AB 107, SALIS, licensure, veterans and military spouses. The board has not previously taken a position on this bill, and it is here for informational purposes only. The board's Chief of Legislation, Mike Jenetsky, will provide the update. Mike?
Good morning. This bill is here primarily because the board has not seen it yet, and it has affected CSLB operations in that it's going to require CSLB to issue temporary licenses to military spouses and domestic partners who meet the criteria in the bill. A temporary license for 12 months that'll self-expire. As you see in the packet, we've been tracking these types of applications for a long time, but we've gotten precisely 0 of them. But that could change with the bill. And it is here for your information. We did bring it to the board in March as a brief mention because it didn't affect us at the time, but it was one of 5 bills that dealt with this topic. This is kind of the one that survived. So if there are any specific questions, I can answer them, but the bill is now with the governor. And here you have the information in the packet, and that's the update.
Thank you, Mike. Yes.
It's the user, sorry. When you're talking about like the impact on us, and I read in here that it said that you haven't had anybody apply for it yet. Does the board have a list of how many contractors are active military duty that this might be applying to? Because the bill's out there, so hasn't passed yet, correct? So you won't know, and if it's not publicized, they don't know what's available to them, so it's kind of an unknown. But how many could it potentially impact the board?
So what's tricky about this one is it's not actually military representatives themselves, it's their spouses and family members. So we don't have a list of them. And I think the intent of this bill was to allow folks who are married or in a union or partnership with somebody who's in the military, if their spouse or partner gets transferred to California, this bill is to remove barriers to licensure for the spouse to come here and start working. So we do get lots of military apps, but this one is about the family members. And I'm not aware of a list that, I suspect because the bill is occurring and it'll pass, we may get more than 0 in the coming years, but a similar provision is in the law for military spouses, and that's why we have been tracking it. And that one, we've had no apps on it, but we may in the future. I wouldn't expect a ton, but it's hard to predict.
All right, anything else? All right, thank you. This is a status update only. No further action is required from the board at this time. Our next item is AB 246, Quirk Contractors, Disciplinary Actions. We are now on page 13. AB 246 is a CSLB-sponsored bill that would make a licensed contractor's unlawful dumping of construction debris a cause of disciplinary action against the contractor. The board has support position on this bill. Chief, do you have any updates for us?
Well, when we told you about it in June, I don't think it was signed, but it has been signed, and it'll take effect January 1st, and that's the update.
Okay. Any questions for the chief? All right. This also is a status update only. No further action is required from the board at this time. Our next item is AB 659, Grayson, Contractors, Civil Penalties and Letters of Admonishment. We are now on page 14. AB 569 is a CSLB-sponsored bill that increases the maximum civil penalty CSLB can assess against a contractor for most violations to $8,000 and to $30,000 for specified violations. It also authorizes the CSLB to issue a letter of admonishment for more than one violation at a time. The board has a support position on this bill. And Chief, do you have any updates for us?
This one has been signed as well since we last told you about it. And what's interesting about this one is because this bill was signed, the last item in our legislative division agenda today relates to a regulation that we need to amend because of this bill. So it's rare that things kind of work together like that, but I just thought I'd provide the context.
All right, thank you. Once again, this is a status update only. No further action is required from the board at this time. Our next item, AB 830, Flora, License Qualifier Requirements. Moving to page 15, AB 830. The board has not previously taken a position on this bill, and it is here for informational purposes only. Chief of Legislation Mike Jenetsky will provide the update.
So when we mentioned this bill at the June board meeting, it didn't have any content yet, but we had learned from industry representatives who were promoting the bill that they were going to ask that language be introduced to change the contractors law, and that is what happened. There are really 3 major changes here, and it's in the packet, but one of the changes takes our regulations and puts them in statute. So it clarifies existing law as it relates to qualifier responsibilities. Another change expands the existing definition of supervision and control that a qualifier must exercise, expands that definition to allow a qualifier to ensure that there's a management structure in place for somebody who is not the qualifier to exercise supervision and control over a job. Our understanding is that the purpose of this bill was to prevent a court from looking at existing law and interpreting that to say that a qualifier basically must be everywhere at once. I think that's difficult for contractors with a lot of jobs. So this is a clarifying measure. It's not CSLB sponsored, but we were aware of the language when it came through. And we did ask, and they did comply, that an additional provision be put in the bill that requires a licensee or an applicant to be a qualifier to prove that management structure, to provide a duty statement and show it to the board upon request. So that's what's in the bill. The bill affects a lot of other boards and bureaus, but that's the provisions that affect us. That's the update.
All right, thank you, Chief. Once again, status update only. No further action is required from the board. The next item, SB 607, Min and Roth, CSLB fees, proposed bond increases. We are now on page 17. SB 607 includes CSLB's necessary fee statutory increase to give us the ability to meet our approved budgetary spending authority and maintain a spending reserve over the next 4 or 5 years. The bill also includes an increase of the contractor license bond from $15,000 to $25,000. The board took a support position on the bill at its June 2021 meeting. Chief, any updates?
This is the CSLB's infamous fee bill that we do need. It was presented to the governor on September 17th. October 10th is the last day, I believe, the governor is able to sign it in the legislative calendar. We're optimistic it'll be signed. Just for the board, the fee provisions, there's a lot of stuff in this bill. The CSLB fee provisions would take effect January of 2022 if the bill is signed, and licensing is off and running, ready to go with charging those new fees on that date. The bonding provisions, the increase in the contractor's bond from 15 to 25,000 would actually take effect in 2023, which gives us time to tell everybody, get the bond companies on board, get licensees on board. And I think just for the record, I've said it before, but I'd like to say it again. Thank you to Senate B&P staff, business and profession staff for helping us get this bill during the pandemic. I think it reflects on the importance that people regard CSLB and its mission in helping it continue its functions with the appropriate amount of fees in place to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. No action is required from the board at this time. Our next item, SB 757, Limon, Solar Energy Systems Improvements, Consumer Protection. We are now on page 19. SB 757, this bill provides additional protections for consumers who contract for the installation of solar energy systems. The board took a support position on the bill at its June 2021 meeting. Any updates, Chief?
Nothing's really changed since we told you about it in terms of the content, just that it's been presented to the governor and it's for signature on September 3rd. And that's it.
Once again, update only, no action required. Agenda item number 2, regulatory updates and actions. We are now in the second of 2 parts of the legislative division agenda for today's meeting. The content for this portion of the meeting begins on page 21 of your packets. These 5 agenda items for discussion relate to the board's regulatory rulemaking. The first 2 items, A and B, relate to rulemaking the board has recently authorized staff to commence. The next 2 items, C and D, also relate to rulemakings the board has authorized staff to commence. However, the authorization was given in 2017. As Chief of Legislation, Mike will explain, the items need to be addressed again. The last item, E, is a new item the board has not yet considered. As you may have seen in the board packet, all of these items are proposed as possible vote items. I will briefly introduce each item and ask Legislative Chief Mike to provide a brief explanation of each item, and then I will present the staff recommendation and ask for board comment and public comment. Finally, I will note for the board members that here today in the audience is the Department of Consumer Affairs Regulatory Affairs Counsel, Danny Rogers. Danny, if you'd like, please come up to the podium and introduce yourself to the board.
Good morning, board members. It's really nice to be here with you. I've been working with the board since October of 2019 on regulations. I assist the board in all respects respecting regulatory work and work with the Office of Administrative Law to pass regulations. I've been working primarily with Mike and Betsy, who make my job much easier, and I look forward to answering any questions you have about the regulations. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, to begin with item A, we're on page 23 of your packet. Item A, review, discussion, and possible action to amend or adopt Title 16, California Code of Regulations, Section 832, Specialty Contractors Classified, and 832.49, Class C49, Tree and Palm Contractor. This agenda item relates to the rulemaking the board authorized staff to commence in June 2019. The creation of a specialty contractor license for tree service contractors. Currently, the CSLB's tree and palm contractor license is a limited specialty license only. Chief, would you explain why this item is here?